Hello again and welcome to the Electronic Eremite Reviews. This is the third review. Yes, I know, if you've been watching these in sequence, this all looks like it's the same day, and it is indeed the same day. It's quiet here at the monastery, so I figured I'd go ahead. Got feeling bad that I promised Eclipse for the next review, and I decided go ahead and review it while I have the chance. If you haven't seen the other two reviews, I will hopefully be able to put some links up. One is for Dungeon Pets, and the other is for Eminent Domain. Two vastly different games. Now, the one that I want to do right now, oh boy, is Eclipse. Now, it's completely different than Dungeon Pets, and, well, actually not, in a way. But it's definitely different than Eminent Domain, despite the theme that is similar. Eclipse is, for a while, you almost thought it was the other Eclipse, with all of the fanboyism and Eclipsites, just like the Twilight fans for the movies. Here on Board Game Geek, it had quite a bit of a following, and there was a lot of hype for Eclipse. In fact, some of you may not have made the cut and didn't get pre-ordered in time, and so will be waiting till April to get your copy. And that may be very painful. It is a relatively new board gaming company here. We've got it from Lautapelit. Yeah, okay. And I'm not really comfortable saying the name of the designer. But at any rate, it's sort of a freshman effort, and it's a really interesting one. So let me get out the components, and we'll talk a little bit about them. Alright, here what we have is a basic setup for the three-player game. In order to fit it all on the camera here, I've had to make them a little closer than they would normally be. But just think about it in terms of there's one hex in between the starting planets and the galactic center. You would actually have a tile in the middle of galactic center that represents the galactic central defense system. If I can find that, here it is. Let me just go ahead and put that out here. That will be there. That's to keep people from just going straight to galactic core, where there's a really nice open system. It's a very powerful thing you have to defeat, basically. They're like the Guardians of Orion or whatever, what have you. But basically, you've got here a three-player setup. Now, it's a really interesting way of doing this game. Most of it's empty space. And you literally build the board as you're playing. If you want to explore closer, you're going to pick one of these tiles that has a 1 on it. The ones that are right next door, you're going to put it in. And of course, you get to decide how you want these. These are wormholes that decide the movement path. Well, I don't want that black guy able to come in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to build this. If I go maybe to the side of, but not touching, then I'm going to pull a 2. Let's say build the board here. Ooh, but I definitely want to have future ability to, see, again, like I said, a really big tile, so I'm going to have to kind of push them around here. So as you go in the game, you're going to build. If you go behind your stars, you're going to pick 3s, and they are different. Oh, this has a special thing on it. See, it's got several different things. The planets that you can get. There's some victory points. That has an artifact, and then that would mean you're going to put an ancient ship on there defending the system. So it's kind of neat in the sense that as you go different areas, as you play, you're going to make the game board. So that's a really variable type of thing. Every game, I would expect it will be completely different. I mean, sometimes you're going to want to go and explore back here. Those are systems only you can get. Pretty much. I mean, they're going to have to go through you in order to get it. Putting it in the middle, there's definitely better systems in the middle. Here's a middle system. Has a nice pink planet, which is research. Has a nice material planet and worth 2 victory points. Usually the ones out further, like the 3 planets, are only going to have 1 victory point. Although this is a pretty good system. It's a money planet here. And that's kind of cool that as you build your game, it'll change your strategy a bit. Actually, I would say that your strategy is highly reliant upon what type of planets you have access to. And if anything, that's almost a problem for the game, which I'll get to, but particularly when it comes to these orange worlds, the money worlds. The more access you have to orange world, particularly early on, it's going to be better. And I'll talk about why. Another neat thing about it, I'm going to just go ahead and push this, and push the blue player here, and he's got himself a fighter. Everybody starts with a fighter. Sometimes you start with, depending on every race can either be, every player sheet can either be a Terran or an alien race. Some alien races will start, one alien race in particular starts with a cruiser. The humans all start pretty much the exact same. If you just want to play an equal playing field, everybody plays humans, and there you go. It'll be more fun, I think, if you play with aliens. It'll throw things into the mix, particularly. But people can decide whether they want to be the alien or they want to be the human. The neat thing here, too, is that as you colonize planets, you're going to be taking off squares, little nice little cubes from your player boards and putting them on the planets. Wooden cubes, but they're going to keep track so that on your player board you'll have different numbers of what you're producing, and it will uncover. So every time you put a cube out there, it'll uncover new things and will increase your potential either in money, research, or materials. So I'll show you quickly the player mat, and I'll explain what I mean here. Here's a player mat for the red player. So what you would, unfortunately, I don't have the red player out. It just happened to be what I grabbed. You're going to have these all covered. So let's just look at the money and pretend like we've got them all covered here. So that means I'm making 2 money. Well, if I were to colonize, then now I'm making 3 money. So that's really cool. That's a really neat way of doing it. The only problem I have with that is that you better be careful when you're playing games, because one quick knock, oh, wait a minute, and then you have to count your planets, and some planets, like these white planets, can be any square. Then you've got to go, which one did I have? What were my numbers? So yes, there is a very big risk of knocking things off of your player mat. We actually did have that happen, and it was not as disastrous as I'm making it sound, but it definitely causes problems. The way the game is played, again, a really different way for a Space 4X game to be played. And I think it's quite unique in that sense. It's not unique as far as game mechanics are concerned, because it uses things drawn from very popular games like Agricola and other Euros, but it's very interesting to see these type of things in a game that is basically a 4X strategy game. Although, in my summation, I'm going to talk about how much of a strategy, how much of an economy game this really is. And I'm actually thinking maybe it's more of an economy game than a strategy game. And that's fine as long as you go into it knowing that. There's going to be inevitable comparisons with Twilight Imperium. And so that's something that will be a talking point later in this review. So here I'm putting these out here. These are action cubes. Action discs. Wow, cubes. Action discs. They serve 2 purposes. They serve the purpose of deciding what action I'm going to take. And let me sort of zoom in for you here. We've got different actions. We've got explore, which is how you pull more tiles. We've got influence, which is how you move these little influence discs. That's what they're called, influence. We've got research. We've got upgrade. That's how you change your ships, how you make your ships better with new technology. You've got build, which is how you build new ships, and you've got move. What's really neat about this too is it tells you exactly on here iconographically what you can do. With influence, I can move 2 discs. With research, I can research 1 thing. With upgrade, I can put 2 upgrades out. With build, I can build 2 ships, and my ships can move. I get 3 movements. Not they can't move 3. That's not what it means. It means I can move 3 ships, and their movement will be dependent upon the different speeds. Now here I'm going to show you an alien oh, look at this. He's got 2 research. So that's really neat in the sense that it shows you visually without any sort of need for complex stuff that what your particular race can do. So you'll notice there's numbers on this track underneath these discs. Well, let's say I want to take a move. Okay, it's still 0. My next thing I want to do is I'm going to upgrade. And you can also do 2 moves. That doesn't matter. You just stack the discs. So I'm going to upgrade. Ooh, now I've got a -1. What's that mean? What that means is that at the end of the turn, you're going to have to pay money, whatever money, to support your action. So in a way, this is simulating, and that's my money. This is my little money. Actually, that's for yes, that's money. It's hard to tell the brown and the orange apart, so that's a problem. Oh, I'm sorry, I hadn't zoomed out enough so you can see that. The brown and the orange apart. That's my one thing. I know that it's probably for colorblind capabilities. I really don't know if that helps, but the brown and the orange they're both very difficult to differentiate. It's also, I think, because you've got your primary colors as far as the players, and so they had to choose something a little different. I still think brown and orange may be a little too close, but anyway. So now I'm going to have to upkeep my actions with a -1. Well, depending on how many, let's say I'm producing 3. Just pretend that this is all filled up. Let's say I'm producing 3. That means I'm making 2 money. Well, or I could take more actions, and now I'm equal. So at the end, I would balance out. Oh, but then it shoots up to 5. So the more actions you take, now it's not just actions. Also, when you want to colonize, you put these out there. When you want to influence a system, I'm sorry, not colonize, influence a system, you put that out there. Whoops, that's more upkeep. So the more actions you take, the more systems you have. It is simulating this like the burgeoning costs of a growing empire that come out. And it very much limits you your growth. If you go bankrupt, you're going to have to take these influence back until you can pay your bills. So that's a really interesting mechanic as far as an economic simulation of a burgeoning, growing, unwieldy, perhaps getting more corrupt empire. The problem is that it makes these money planets, the orange planets, let me see if I can find one. See, this is actually an orange planet, but it requires a technology to settle. It makes those very powerful. Here's one here, right there. Makes those very powerful, particularly early on in the game. If you get more money than your opponent, you're able to take more actions. So, because exploration is done at a sort of luck of the draw, that can be a bit of an imbalancing factor to the game. Now, anyway, we'll talk about that in a second, but right here is the different technologies that you have. I'm going to show you what will keep you sane while playing this game. Oh look, it's a Plano box. Definitely get a Plano box. You see the amount of stuff that you get in this game. If you don't have a way to keep that, you are going to go crazy. Technology is a little special. You're going to actually put it in a really nice bag. Let me reach over here and get it. A really nice bag. And you'll be every turn drawing these out and putting them onto a middle playboard here. There's your nice middle playboard. So every turn you're going to be drawing text out. And it'll depend on the number of players. And you're going to be putting, okay, here's plasma cannon. Okay, here's, what's this? Artifact key. Okay, and maybe we've got, oh, this is a good one. This is a, whoops. Well, maybe we'll be able to see it, maybe not. Well, it's quantum grid. Anyway, hopefully I can get you to see one of these up close. Let's see if we can. No. Okay, well, it's not cooperating with me. At any rate, let me zoom in, and that'll definitely work. There we go. Artifact key. Okay. So we've got different types of technologies. I'm not going to go over them very much. I mean, here you've got this is plasma cannons. It's a type of ship component. So when you've got those plasma cannons, then you're going to be able to add them to ships. It shows you an orange. That means that you will roll an orange dice in combat. rather than a yellow dice, which is for your ion cannons. And here's one of the components. That'll be something you can use an upgrade move to put onto your ship. And so, as you get new technologies, you're going to be unlocking new things. And that's a really, really fun part of this game, in the sense that, and as you get more technologies, it also makes it makes the future technologies a little cheaper. And here, let me show you then the ships, because this, I tell you what, is the key aspect of the game. I mean, this is where you're going to have most fun, at least in my opinion. Now, for example, let's say I bought my plasma cannon. So I've got this little plasma cannon piece. I've got different types of ships. Here's your fighters, here's your cruisers, here are dreadnoughts, and here's your starbase. So they each have different things. Here's a drive. It means you can move one. It's got a little hex. It means I can move one. It means I get 1 initiative for having it. This fighter's automatically faster, so it gets 2 initiative. Let's just zoom in real close to the fighter there. Then you've got a 3 of nuclear source, meaning it gives you 3 power. So you can't ever go over. So here I want to add this. It takes up 2 power, and it means I've got a better gun. It does 2 damage whenever I roll a hit with it. Well, I can't put it here because there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'd have to actually replace. You always have to have a drive. I'd replace that. So now suddenly I've got fighters, and it's automatic. So all my fighters. Well, I could decide maybe to do it to the cruiser, or maybe I later in the game upgrade to this nice big fusion source. Look, that's a 9. Oh, now I'm going to add that there, and then maybe I'm going to add another one. Suddenly I've got a really powerful cruiser that's got 2 different types. These are computers. They add a plus to your rolls. There are also shields that take minuses to your opponent's rolls. The combat's pretty simple. It is run a little bit like Twilight Imperium in the sense that you roll these nice dice, and I think they look like starbursts, so they always make me hungry for candy whenever I see them. They're nice citrus-colored dice that will, and you always hit on a 6. You always miss on a 1, and if you can, with any amount, let's say you rolled a 4, a 5 here, and I have a computer plus 1, then I hit. As long as my opponent doesn't have any shields. So it's a pretty simple setup. You also then take as much as you need for, let's say I have 3 fighters and they each have 1, so I take 3 of these. The part that it gets complicated is initiative. So you'll look at the echelons here. The cruiser has 2 echelons, 1 there, 1 there. The fighter has 3 echelons. That means all of my fighters will fire before all of my cruisers, and I'll compare it to my opponent's. If I have more echelons, then all of mine will fire before his. If I have a really upgraded drive technology, maybe all of my ships will have higher echelons, so they'll all fire before his or hers. You also have neat stuff like missiles, which will fire first in combat but never again. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do. A lot of upgrading of your ships, a lot of different types of strategies for building a ship. Do you want to put in, maybe you get these cool improved hulls that add, normal ships basically only have 1 hit point, so 1 hit will kill it. When they have a hull like this, little star, that means it's an extra hit point. So the cruiser is 1, 2, the dreadnought is 1, 2, 3. But maybe I buy these and maybe I research improved hulls and then I upgrade. Now, my goodness, I've got a fighter which only cost me 3 materials to build. I can build a whole bunch of those, and it takes 3 hits. Wow, that's pretty good. You're also limited by the actual plastic pieces, so you have more plastic fighter pieces than you do cruisers. Or dreadnoughts. You only have a few dreadnoughts. You have a few more cruisers and several fighters. So you might want to just spam a whole bunch of really heavily armored fighters. Or maybe you want to put shields on them or something, or computers so that they're like pinpoint fighters. That is a really fun part of the game. This is what's keep you up at night. After you've played the game, you'll sit there and you'll say, oh, well, what am I going to do? Well, next time I'm going to make fighters that are really powerful, or next time I'm going to rush to get the best power sources so that I can just toss as many weapons as I can on my cruisers. Or maybe I want to go the dreadnoughts that just sit there and destroy every single thing. Basically, the game plays for victory points, so even if you are a huge war machine, everybody gets a victory point for just fighting in a battle, or I'm sorry, a reputation tile. They can have different ones. There'll be ones, they go up to 1, then there's a 3 here. And so when you win the battle, you get more choices of reputation tiles, but can only keep 1. So even if you've lost the battle, you may luck out and get the 3 reputation. Oh, it was a stunning battle that we did very well in and got a lot of reputation for it. So it may turn out that even though you've lost battles, you actually get more victory points. You also get victory points usually for all of your different places you own, all of your different sectors. Like I said, there's a 1. Your home sector's worth 3. The Galactic Central is not only got a really good amount of stuff on it, but it's also worth 4, so it'll be hotly contested in most games, particularly since it's in the center of the board. There's other things that you can do. You can research monoliths, which give you victory points. When you're really out of luck, maybe you don't get any money planets, you get a lot of research planets. You can research these neat like halo orbitals that you can then use as either a planet of money or research. So that's also a way to mitigate some of those limiting factors that money can create. All in all, that's a quick rundown of what's going on in the game. Wow, there's a lot more. The rules are actually available on Board Game Geek. I suggest if you're interested in the game to look it up. But I've given you a nice rundown of the components here and sort of what they do. The player boards are pretty nice, thick, not cardboard, but thick paper. Paper stock, you might be able to see that. I like them. Some people have reported that they are bending. Mine have not. So mine are really good. You got a whole lot of cardboard in this game. Whole lot of cardboard. And a little bit of your plastic ships. Oh look, if you watch my eminent domain, there's a nice little eminent domain ship there. Okay, well let me clean this up and then I will tell you exactly what I think. Oh boy, Eclipse. Did it live up to the hype? Well, maybe, no. And this is just me. Maybe. It's a great game. There's a lot going on. Okay? There's a lot going on. The strategy level of this game is phenomenal. You have strategy in the actions that you take. You have strategy in the planets you decide to colonize. You have strategy in the biggest part of the strategy is what you're going to do with your ships. How are you going to upgrade them? What kind of weapons, what kind of armor are you going to put on them? Huge, huge, huge avenues for strategy. However, it is, in essence, an economic game. Now, some people will disagree with me. Oh, there's all these ships. Oh, the whole big part of the game is to build ships and to upgrade your ships. Well, yeah, that's fine, and it is. But without the materials, if you don't find any material planets, you're not going to build any ships. Without money, the big one, money, you're not going to have enough actions. When one particular game, when we played, one guy just basically didn't have very many money planets, and he could take 2 actions a turn. He'd had tons and tons of planets. He went ahead and influenced a lot of nice planets. He could take 2 actions a turn. I could take 5 actions a turn. I found all these money planets. I managed to buy advanced economy, which then allows you to colonize advanced money planets. I managed to get some other technologies that helped. I had all these actions. He only had 2. Really, really squelched what he could do. And that's a big imbalance, and a lot hinges on that. And you can mitigate it. You can mitigate it very easily, I would say. There's a technology that gives you 2 influence discs, basically, 2 back. And there's another one that gives you 1 influence disc. There's also those orbitals that you can build to make money. There's also you can take off of places you don't even want anymore so that you can afford more actions. So yeah, there's a way to mitigate it. But the simple fact of the matter is that without the money, or without finding or thinking of a way to mitigate it, you're going to have that problem of the guy with the most money is going to have the most actions. And if you've ever played a game like Agricola, a Euro game, the more actions you have, the better it just plainly is. And the better you're going to do. the same is true to a certain extent with research. Some people may say, well, can't you just build up money and take a huge turn? Well, yeah, you can. But one thing I didn't tell you was that the game is limited in turns. There are 9 turns. And once you're done with those 9 turns, you're done. And the first few turns are going to go a lot faster because you're going to have a lot less to do, a lot less money to take actions with. You're going to have a lot less places to go because you just don't have the type of infrastructure yet. You don't have the type of, you have less to buy. So yes, you can build up money. But your first 2 or 3 turns, you're not going to have a whole lot of chance to build up money. Besides, if another guy's taking all these actions in the first few turns and you're thinking, well, I'll build up for a second, third turn. Well, wait a minute. Suddenly, he's got all these money planets and you don't have these money planets, so you may build up, but he's still going to be able to take more actions than you. So a lot can hinge on those first money planets. I don't know if it breaks the game. I don't really think so. I think that actually the game is still quite balanced, even though. It's just that the people who are going, you really need special players that will be able to think quick on their feet when they see, if they're in a position where the money planets just aren't showing up, they've got to find an alternate path. So that can be an issue. And it's a complex game, so your first few games, you may not be able to think on your feet. Also, just because that shipbuilding is really, really awesome, and it is, doesn't necessarily mean that that you're going to grapple with it very effectively in the very beginning when you first play. You're going to take you a few plays before you actually know which one of these things you're going to do. And it's just like a Euro game in the sense that you never have enough actions or never have enough resources to buy all the tech and all of the upgrades that you want per turn. You got to think. And that's I think that's a good thing. I like that part of it. But I still couldn't feel like I couldn't get over the feeling like maybe I was playing a little bit of an Agricola in space kind of thing where I was waiting on my resources to build the next big deal. And that's okay. Again, that's okay if you go in knowing what you're getting. Now, I'm a huge fan of Twilight Imperium 3rd Edition. Huge. It's my favorite game, my top game. Is Eclipse, the Twilight Imperium 3rd Edition killer? For me, no. It is not the same type of thing. It's not really even in the same league or trying to be the same thing. It's got the same general 4X technology upgrade system, but it's much more of an economic empire building situation than a war game where you're going to send all these ships and roll it out and duke it out. Did you buy Rune Age? I bought Rune Age. And did you play Rune Age and say, you know, I got all these nice plastic pieces, and yet we only had one battle? That happened to us the first time we played Eclipse. We have all these nice pieces. We had a huge amount of upgrades, and we only got into one battle with other players. We actually battled the Ancients quite a bit, and the Galactic Central Core we battled quite a bit. We only got into 1, 2, and the second one was completely unnecessary. I just wanted to test out some really cool dreadnoughts that I had built. 2 major battles. Now, maybe we play a little more guarded, and it was our first few games, so we were playing a little bit more guarded, and I know more aggressive players, particularly in the beginning, will find that they will have tons of battles and test out their fighters and test out their cruisers. And like I said, since you get reputation for being in a battle, you really want to try to get as much, you know, get into as many battles as you can. You want to have a purpose. You want to be able to take over, influencing different places. But I think in general, you're not going to see the amount of battles, the amount of fighting, the drag-out fights, the crazy warfare that you see with a game like Twilight Imperium, which again is much more of your Ameritrash, roll-off type of game. Traditional conquest type of game, and this is not one of those traditional conquest type of games. It's much more of an influence economic empire building type of game with warfare and technology thrown in. Now, just because I don't think it lived up to the hype for me doesn't mean I don't think it's a great game. I do. I think it's a fun game. I think it's a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to play it again because every time I play, there's more things I wanted to do that I didn't get to do, and there's more things that I think about. Oh wait, maybe this ship I could change it that way. Like I said, you're going to be up at night thinking about different ship configurations. So yes, it's a good game. It's a great game, but it didn't kill Twilight Imperium for me. For an epic 4X warfare experience, Twilight Imperium is still the way to go. Now, Eclipse can be played in about half the time of Twilight Imperium, if not less than that. Our first few games were 4-hour games for 3 players, but it would get faster as you go along, and I actually think some people could get it down to an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I don't know if that's realistic. For people who are just speed demons, could probably do it. For us, it'll probably always be around that 3-hour mark at the very least, because we suffer from analysis paralysis quite a bit, and we're not speed demons, and we like to think it through. So yeah, it plays a lot faster, and it's a much more streamlined game. The rules are pretty easy to understand. The rules will not help you grapple with the strategy. The rules will tell you how to play the game. And it gives some really nice examples that will help you learn the game better, but it's still going to take you some time as far as the learning curve, and that's not the rules learning curve, that is the strategy learning curve. Like I said, the rules and the manual's quite good. I like the manual a lot. It's very clear. It gives enough examples that you do feel like you know what you're going. Get yourself a Plano box. Listen to me. It will save you. You will be frustrated if you don't, and you won't like the game if you don't, because it will take you an hour simply to set it up. You're putting cubes, you're putting discs, you're putting little tiny, not tiny, but you're putting tiles out, cardboard tiles all over the place. So yes, you do definitely want to get yourself a Plano box or some other form of storage, or to keep this thing where you feel like you will be able to easily access your stuff. Components are good. The player mats could be maybe a little bit better. Like I said, some people say theirs are curling, mine are not. The tiles are very good. All of them, the map tiles and the technology and upgrade tiles, all very good. You know, wooden blocks, wooden blocks, wooden blocks. It's fine. They work perfectly. The discs work perfectly. I think that's okay. No problems there. The ships are neat. Some people don't like the way they look because they do have a sort of a strange look, but I think they're fine. I don't much care. I don't think they're as awesome maybe as Twilight Imperiums, but you know, whatever. They'll do. All in all, a great game. A great new effort from sort of some new names here, and has a lot going for it. A lot going for it. How does it play with 2? Well, it's going to be much more of a knockdown, drag-out fight. I mean, you're 2 players. You're gonna fight. It probably will be much more of a. You're going to see a lot more fighting, a lot more warfare, a lot more conflict. That's the word I was looking for. I haven't played it with my wife. She would detest this game. It's much, much, much too complicated for her. She doesn't like warfare. So I can't tell you how it works with spouses unless your spouse is the type that really, really enjoys the deep, complicated warfare. My gaming group, and one guy in particular, loves Twilight Imperium. My dad loves it, plays it great, wins Twilight Imperium, had a lot of trouble grasping Eclipse. I don't know why. Had to go over the rules, go over the sort of mechanics quite a bit. He had a good time, and he played well, but it was more of the mechanics and, you know, why do this, what's going on here, that it took him a while to really get. Other people didn't have as much problems, I guess. They did all right, but again, it is a pretty Herculean effort to first learn the game. So that's my review of Eclipse. I know there will be some disagreements because there is definitely, if anything, even if I don't think it is the hype, I think that the mechanics and the way they all come together are brilliant. And I wouldn't say that about every game. But I do think these mechanics in particular are brilliant. Just the way they come together and the way they've been put together. They're definitely taking from other games. It's derivative, but they are put the whole is better than the sum of its parts in this case. Well, thanks for watching, and this will conclude my review of Eclipse, and I hope to see you back for my next review. I'm not sure what that'll be. Hoping to get to play Super Dungeon Explorer soon, and so if you're excited about that one, keep watching to see if I have a review pop up soon. Hope to see you back, and thanks for watching.